Hey, well, today I'm angry because yet again I heard somebody refer to us as the richest country on earth, and we are not. Not only are we not the richest country on earth, but individually we are in dire straits. And this information comes from the Social Security Administration, was released about 2 weeks ago. Obviously, I will link to the report in the notes below. What it shows is that most of us are not doing well at all. We're not thriving, to refer back to a previous post. We're not thriving at all. As a matter of fact, this is what the data shows. This is the lowest 50% of workers. And these are just people who have jobs. This doesn't even count those people struggling to get a job. And what you see on the left is net compensation from 1 cent a year to $5,000 a year. There are 20 million people in that group, and they comprise 12% of the total number of wage earners. And you can see the percent of the total for 5,000 to 10,000. The percent of total is a cumulative number, so that you can see by the time you get to a percent of total of 50.88%, that is showing you that more than half of all wage earners are earning less than $35,000 a year. So I want you to take a long moment and think about what that means. Half of all wage earners in the US are earning less than $35,000 a year. That doesn't even count the people who are struggling to find a job who don't have one. It only counts those people who successfully have a job. And as I point out, half of them are earning less than $35,000 a year, which is not really a livable wage. Unless you live outside of a major city, you're going to find it very difficult to live on less than $35,000, especially if you consider the fact that this is a pre-tax number. This is before any Social Security, FICA, taxes are withdrawn. This is your gross number. Why is this important? Well, it's important when you look at what the debt is of the US and the fact that ultimately this debt is supposed to be paid or expected to be paid by taxpayers. That is the full faith and credit of the United States. The full faith and credit of the United States is us. Their ability, the government's ability to extract whatever taxes from us are necessary to pay interest or principal on the debt. We are the full faith and credit of the United States. And where are we at this point? Well, this is as of 10/27/2020, and you can see that the US debt clock, which just keeps track of money that's already been spent and borrowed, it doesn't keep track at all of any money that's been promised to be spent next year but hasn't been borrowed yet. This just shows the money that has already been spent, and you can see that we've spent $27 trillion more than we've taken in. What does that mean per taxpayer? Well, you can see debt per citizen and debt per taxpayer, and the difference is that more than half of the citizens are not taxpayers, i.e. taxpayers have to pay both for themselves and for non-taxpayers. And you can see that the 27 trillion, if you divided it evenly among the citizens of the US, would equal a debt of $82,000 each. This is whether you're employed or not, just per citizen. If you divide it by the number of taxpayers, each taxpayer theoretically has a share of the federal debt that is equal to $217,000 per taxpayer. $217,000 per taxpayer for every taxpayer. Whether you earn $10,000 or $10 million, that is your share of the federal debt. What does that mean? Well, it means that we actually are a lot more poor than we think. Because if you look at this summary from the Social Security Administration, you can see that if they assume that the net compensation, the figure that starts 8790, is divided by the 169 million taxpayers, you get an average wage of almost $52,000, which sounds quite comforting. What does this mean? Well, what you need to do is take a look at what the difference is between what the average worker, the average paid worker is earning in this country and what the median worker is earning. And I know that for some of you, this is a distinction that doesn't mean much, but here is what it means. If you take the total amount of all earnings and you divide it by the total number of all wage earners, you get the average earnings for that number of people. Now, what is the median? The median means that half of the people earn more than you and half of the people earn less than you. Isn't the average and the median kind of the same thing? No, it isn't. Here is the summary from the Social Security Administration, and you can see this is at the very top of the page. It describes an average wage of almost $52,000, but yet a median wage of only $34,248. Average wage is 50% more. than the median wage. And what that means is that the people who earn a fortune skew the numbers. If you have 5 people and one person earns $1 and one person earns $10 and one person earns $100 and one person earns $1,000 and one person earns $10,000, you will have a total earnings for the entire group of $11,111. And if you divide that by 5 people, you would think that on average they're each earning about $2,000, even though we know only one is earning more than that, and most are earning far below that. That's the difference between median and average. We shouldn't be comforted by this average wage. Most of us are struggling to get by. As a matter of fact, this median wage is barely above the poverty level for a family of 4, and it is below the poverty level for a family of 5 or more. We are struggling. The prices of things continue to go up. We are comforted by the fact that a few of us have vast wealth, and that makes us think that as a group we are wealthy. We are not. A few of us, a few oligarchs, are billionaires. The rest of us are struggling desperately every day. And for the half of us who earn below the median wage, it's a struggle that we're losing. We cannot continue to increase our debt. We can't afford to pay the debts we have already. And as you can see from these numbers, very few of us are able to keep our head above water anymore. This may be the reason the number of homeless keeps increasing, as more and more of us drift below the poverty level with our median income of $35,000. Please, this is an emergency. It's time to take a good look at this and realize where we are. Stop spending money. Stop thinking of ourselves as rich. Wake up.